Hello everyone. This video is sort of a complex video that I'm going to be putting together. It's something kind of more on about my personal spiritual journey, and it's sort of my struggles with reconciling my Jewish heritage and upbringing with practicing Christianity now. And something that I am going to just say up front is that the historical Rabbi Yeshua, who, through linguistic translations, through translating names from Hebrew/Aramaic to Greek and beyond, translates to Jesus. Anyway, the historical Jesus was Jewish, and most historical speculation seems to be that he didn't try to start a new religion, and that even the earliest Christians didn't really go out to create a separate religion. And it's, look at the Bible. The New Testament, what we refer to now as the Old Testament is also the Jewish scriptures, structured a little bit differently. And then the New Testament, pretty much all of it was written by Jewish people for Jewish people. Some of the later writings were written when there was sort of a religious break-off. It's a complicated history. And so, I'm aware of that. But anyway, I'm going to start out by talking about sort of a mix of some of the things that have gotten me thinking about this and my Jewish upbringing. And I'm going to start out by introducing you to a friend of mine, Shlomo. He and I go way back. He and Mukau were my first stuffed animals. And yeah, say hi to everyone. Yeah. And during this pandemic, it started out on May Day. I'm also a Morris dancer. Morris dancing is how my parents met. Our local Morris dance groups did sort of Zoom chats for May Day. In place of going out for breakfast, we all kind of danced at sunrise at our homes, or some got together at various places while staying like 6 to 12 feet apart. But then at a breakfast Zoom chat, like one of the Morris toddlers was showing off her animal, and all of us pulled out ours. And I have several, but Mukau and Shlomo are the really important ones for me. And then, much more recently, I live 10 blocks away from where George Floyd was murdered by that cop, like 2 blocks down that way and then 8 blocks down that way. I live, close to that. And I've walked to the area where it's maybe about a half-hour walk to get to, where the police station was burned down, and where the police were tear gassing and shooting protesters, and where the first burnings from the more aggressive protesting, or yes, white supremacist saboteurs or crazy opportunists. However that started in the context of this is not the most relevant thing to be mentioning. But anyway, I live a block away from where 3 buildings caught on fire. I think there was a Somali restaurant that, I know that there was a bookstore that a lot of friends liked that was just completely burned down. There was a Somali restaurant that got caught on fire. uh, a liquor store that people I know frequently go to out of convenience got heavily burnt. There's a Midtown Global Market, this sort of global food place, got a little bit of burning, but that was more from the inside. It's a brick building. But yeah, there were like one night in the middle of the night, I walked out to our deck and I saw burning sparks falling into our yard and onto our deck and onto our roof, and these were sparks that were still like flaming. They cooled down by the time that they landed, but I was in fear for my safety. The following morning, while tired, still scared, and also deeply saddened by what black people have been dealing with for decades, centuries, deeply saddened by all of that, and really having conflicted emotions about like how, yeah, all sorts of things. It was the first time the first time since I was maybe 12 where a real life situation led me to breaking down and crying, and the first time since maybe I was 9 or 10 where I needed some of these animals to cuddle up with. And Mukau and Shlomo were my first, and ones that I really connected with. And yeah, so having Shlomo with me a lot of the time, I've been sort of reflecting on my conversion to Christianity, and I mean, although it is complicated. I mean, when I was a kid, I thought of myself as half Jewish, half Christian. Because kind of sort of by blood, that kind of is what I am. But Judaism was very much my heritage that I was deeply proud of. And actually, I'm going to put you down. Or not in that way, I'm just going to sit you down. There we go. My godfather went to Israel, and as a child, he got me this. And my mom's now kind of taken this and claimed this kind of as her own, but, yeah. But my godfather also, and he's someone else who has kind of a complicated religious life. He was quite active in the synagogue that my family and I went to for a little while. He really knows his Hebrew and all sorts of stuff. He was basically the one who bar mitzvahed me, the one who sort of led my bar mitzvah, and I had an at-home bar mitzvah. The synagogue we joined required people to be part of the temple for 2 years before they could get bar mitzvahed, and I wanted to be bar mitzvahed at the age of 13, and so I had my bar mitzvah at home, and as his bar mitzvah gift to me, he gave me this, a kippah, and a talit. And there's important prayer. I'm rusty on my Hebrew, but it's Baruch atah Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahat Batzitzit. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is the prayer for putting this on. My Hebrew is, yeah, but when I was 13, I absolutely knew, I was much better at my Hebrew. I'm rusty. I've been working on relearning it. Christianity is deeply rooted in Judaism. And so there's frequently when I talk about my religious journey, I say that I joined the cult of Rabbi Yeshua, to kind of, sort of as a joke, but also when I say Rabbi Yeshua, to kind of point out, just as sort of a way of saying that this is something deeply rooted in Judaism that I am a part of. Although the Christian church really broke away, developed a separate calendar, and a lot of current Jewish practices were developed kind of to also separate the two religions, to separate Judaism from Christianity. It's, both religions are a major for me, and for me it's like a lot of the ideas of Jesus, at least as depicted in the Bible and depicted in many ways, like, I deeply admire, and I think are just such an ideal way of living, like doing all this charitable work and stuff. But also with Judaism, something I like about Judaism that doesn't really exist in the other three Abrahamic religions, or the other two Abrahamic religions, is that there really isn't a single human figure. Islam is probably the one that's the most big on God above all, talks about that, no God but God, and all of that. But when it comes to human figures, there's such a huge emphasis on Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And, I mean, he's not God in Islam the way that some Christians will see Jesus as God. That's an ongoing debate in Christianity. But with Judaism, like, is it Moses who's the major figure? Is it Elijah? Is it David? Is it Abraham? It's like there isn't, like, there are a lot of human figures, but none of them necessarily really take precedence as, like, the main human figure. And it's like Moses wrote the book, but there was Abraham first, and then, it's also, Judaism is my upbringing and heritage, and it's a major part of who I was and who I was raised to be. And although my religious background is deeply complicated, because I also, my dad was Episcopalian, and when I'd visit my grandparents, I would go to church with them. I had a huge attraction to Jesus. Like, when my parents read me, like, Tommy DePilla's children's book of Bible stories, I was deeply attracted to Jesus' story. I did sort of feel this connection with it, that and also my frequent babysitting family was a Catholic family, so I also got a lot of that. And so this is kind of an ongoing struggle of kind of figuring out how to really be able to justify primarily practicing Christianity with, like, going to church, and I've developed a lot of sort of personal practices as a Christian, but also, like, wanting to, like, eventually after I move out from my parents' house, wanting to be able to continue doing things like Passover Seders and celebrating Hanukkah, and I've never yet fasted on Yom Kippur. Like, there's always some sort of excuse I have of, like, oh, I'm gonna be singing this night and this or that. But I've done fasts. I've done Holy Saturday fasts. Yeah. And also, I've observed Ramadan in solidarity with Muslims. Many people have seen, hopefully, people have seen that video. So, I mean, yeah, I. It's like this is just kind of a struggle of being able to identify as Jewish while also practicing Christianity, or, I mean, as a kid, it was maybe a lot easier to say I'm half Jewish, half Christian, and talk about having an interfaith upbringing, but it's deeply complicated, um, and I'm not sure if there's like a final conclusion I can give. But anyway, thank you for watching. Shalom.